Omar Itani, you are co-founder and general manager of FabricAID in Lebanon.
Yes.
Could you explain to us, what does FabricAID exactly do?
FabricAID is a social enterprise. Our aim is to lower the impact of the of the fashion industry. What we do is fairly simple. We are one of the biggest collectors of second-hand clothing in the region. We collect clothes through hundreds of clothing collection bins in Lebanon and in Jordan. We also have partnerships with fashion brands such as H&M, and we do international clothing collection campaigns all across the world. The clothes that we collect through those donations and through those endeavors is sorted, cleaned, and sent to our stores located in extremely marginalized areas. We are talking about refugee camps, slums, agriculture areas. At those stores, people can enter, everything is neatly displayed, there's price tags, fitting rooms, personalized advice. People have the chance to choose whatever they want at prices they can actually afford without feeling that somebody is doing charity for them. It's a proper, dignified shopping experience. The prices are basically less than $1 per item. It's micro prices that the vast majority of people can actually afford. Whatever items we cannot sell through those stores are either sold through our vintage store at higher prices to middle class communities to sustain the organization, and whatever we collect and is damaged and cannot be resold is basically upcycled and recycled into merchandise that we then sell to corporates.
This seems like a successful story.
Thank you.
What is the secret of your success?
It's honestly looking at first from a country that has massive issues, from a collapsing banking sector to incredibly high inflation. There's a lot of issues, from transportation to electricity to agriculture, safety, security. You can look at those problems and become really depressed. But that's not a way to change the narrative about the country. That's not a way to enhance and develop the country. We need to look at those problems as opportunities for solutions. Each one of those problems, people are suffering from them, and they are desperate to find solutions for them. And they are willing to pay to solve this problem. So it's important to, instead of looking at a country filled with problems, to look at the country as a country filled with opportunities that we need to take a chance in solving. We need to be accountable for that, and solving those issues can provide us actually purpose in our lives. We are in countries that desperately need our effort and support. So I think looking at things from this perspective is quite empowering, and it will give an entrepreneur a purpose and a reason to continue working, because the entrepreneurial journey is quite challenging. Of course, there's other things such as validation from the ground, being agile, trying to learn as much as possible, become a sponge, ask people for advice, aim high.
It's impressive. You have created lots of jobs in your region as well. 120, I suppose?
120 strong.
Yeah. How did you do that? What's your take on job creation for young people?
To create a job, you need to have a sustainable value chain. So our focus is sustaining the business and growing the business. And job creation is one of the outcomes of focusing on a sustainable business model. And to have a sustainable business model in a country like Lebanon, where it's not, we don't have those sustainable business models because of growth in the economy. We have them because we are filling a gap and fixing issues. So to create a sustainable business model and to create job opportunities, you need to really understand the problem very well, to understand it from the people who are suffering from it. So how do we create jobs? Is sitting and understanding the problem, co-creating the solution with the people who are suffering from it. The solution needs to be a sustainable solution, and we can always find a way to sustain those solutions. And from these sustainable solutions, job can be easily created. But the hard work is finding a business model that really serves the people and solve the issues of the people in a sustainable manner.
And how do you support the people that need the jobs?
So one, by offering the jobs that usually provide a dignified living experience, decent salaries paid in fresh United States dollars. Very happy to now offer also our employees health insurance, free psychological support. In a country like Lebanon with so many issues, psychological support is incredibly important. Health insurance is incredibly important because the social security is no longer active in Lebanon. providing wages in fresh currency, in a foreign currency, is very important since the Lebanese currency is collapsing. Through those endeavors, we provide people with a better standard of living. In addition to that, is through creating a positive culture, positive internal work culture. You can pay people decent salaries, give them insurance, psychological support, but if the work environment is negative and it hinders the growth of people and creates more problems that it can actually solve. So we focus on both the culture and the benefits that we can give our employees.
You have this entrepreneurship of your enterprise. It's really it's a green one because you're of course working really sustainable. Was it a goal at first?
Honestly, not at the beginning. So the goal of FabricAID was purely social, purely people-oriented. Our aim was to provide people with a dignified shopping experience, to make clothes way more affordable. We didn't look or were even interested or aware of the environmental aspect of FabricAID. And I remember back in 2018 and 19 when we first started, people would say, would you say FabricAID is a green social enterprise? I would say no, FabricAID is a social enterprise. There's no green to what we do. But with time, when we started collecting massive amounts of clothes, we figured out that, okay, there's a lot of clothes that is damaged and cannot be resold. What can we do with it? Would we ever send it to a landfill? Of course we wouldn't. And this is when we started recycling and upcycling and embarking on this aspect of the business, and became clearly abundantly clear that the enterprise is actually environmental. And for me, for any green enterprise, especially in the regions that we are talking about, it's very important for this green enterprise to provide social value. Because when people are living below poverty line, they don't really care about the carbon footprint. They care about having food on their table. So every green initiative we can possibly have, especially in developing countries, it has to provide people with a social value, and that's the only way where people will actually adopt it.
This is really inspiring. What do you dream of?
I dream about changing the narrative of Lebanon. Lebanon back in the 60s was considered the Switzerland of the Middle East, one of the development dragons, a country with an outstanding growth levels. Unfortunately, in the 70s, after the Civil War, the narrative completely changed to a country in distress, the Civil War, the violence. And after the Civil War ended, and just currently, it's looked at as a country that has severe economic, social, and environmental issues. We hope that in 20 years, we will change this narrative once again, and it will go back to become the Paris of the Middle East, and a country that we'll be proud to talk about and to invite people to.
You're working on it.
No, for sure.
Yeah, the theme here is at Ignite is reimagining jobs. Is that what you do?
Sure. I'm very happy about the theme of this conference, because we are no longer talking about aid. We are no longer talking about temporary solutions. Jobs by their nature are sustainable, because you cannot create a job before you invest in an actual sustainable business model. Of course, we are talking about long-term business models, and this is what Lebanon really needs. We need investment from the international community that goes into developing the private sector. We have complete lack of any initiative that comes from the public sector, and whatever they do actually hinders our growth. All solutions, all value creation in a country like Lebanon comes from the private sector. So supporting the private sector to solve the social environmental issues is very important. Supporting them to create sustainable jobs, to reimagine the jobs that they can create is incredibly important. Supporting the private sector cannot be discounted in a country like Lebanon.
Partnerships are needed?
For sure. Partnerships between the private sector entities themselves, partnerships between the private sector and the international community, the international NGOs, the development agencies, the development funds. This is very important, and shifting and changing the way Lebanon is funded, from funding the government to funding its private sector, is extremely important. From funding more initiatives created by NGOs that cannot be sustainable on the long run, to pushing the NGOs and the social enterprises and the startups to become sustainable. That's what we need to be working on as FabricAID. Our main goal is to become fully sustainable in Lebanon and Jordan by end of 2024. And all the money that we get today from our sales or from our investments or from the grants that we get is for this goal.